Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So you can see Sassy. There's the sassy one. She's wondering where her brother and sister are, and I think Sita's coming. And in case you haven't met them before, this is Sita, and there's Rama. And they are pups, and there's Sita. They are pups. They are maybe 3 months and like a week, something like that.
Something like that.
About 3 months and a week old.
Yeah.
And excuse the mess because pups do make a mess. And then we are in a construction zone. So we're taking our deck and turning it into a screened-in porch. And that's well underway now, as we do have screen up on one side, 2 sides to go.
Yep, hooray. So, we're almost there. So excited. I think we're going to try to turn it into maybe like a meditation room.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things I'm going to do too. Sita, what are you talking about?
Baby.
They play really well. They love Sassy. One of the things that we're going to do is it's only going to have the screen on 2 sides. One side's up against the house. The other side I'm going to make a full wall towards the north with a door in it, and then a dog door, and then we have a small wood-burning stove that we're going to put out in it. And then I'm going to make panels for the winter to just basically, when it gets really cold, to cover the screen with removable panels. And so that way we could grow stuff out here too, year-round, as well as enjoy it year-round. And, we've been in the house for, about 8 months?
Yeah.
I guess about 8 months now. As you can see, the pups are growing quite rapidly.
They are.
As, when he got here, he was only a little bit bigger than Sassy, and now he's about 3 times bigger.
Yeah, but Sassy doesn't know that.
No, and Sassy does boss them around, and so she's training them very, very well.
She sure is. It's fun. It's entertaining to watch the dynamics with them. It's great.
It is. So we were going to just elaborate a little bit on some information we got after we uploaded the video talking about the prophecy of the Rainbow Warriors. And it was interesting because the guides were giving Cindy some visualizations.
Yes, and the best way I can explain it with this is looking through a viewfinder, and when you press the button you get a whole nother picture, but they were showing me a lot of people, and all of these people had a little star inside of their tummy. And I was listening to Mike's video before he loaded it, and when he said Rainbow Warriors, the picture shifted to everybody having all these other dots inside of their solar plexus, turning them into rainbow warriors. So anyone who feels that they are drawn to this, it's as if you are curious about it, if you have a draw to it and you listen to this and you put some energy and thought into it, you are a rainbow warrior. I just thought that was really interesting.
Absolutely. And, our real history is so different than everything we've been, told. And it's ancient. And we were also getting impressions about past lives going back to the Lyran Wars.
Yep.
Because the Lyran Wars have never stopped. And in so many ways, mankind and even the people that are inhabiting the Pleiades, the beings that we call the Pleiadians, are really refugees.
Yes, and I was getting visions. One thing I kind of think about is, what are we doing here? What's our purpose here? And when I was looking into Mike's past life, they were telling me he is someone from the Lyran Wars who saw the injustice, what they were doing to innocent beings. And that's one of the reasons why he is here in this lifetime, to continue to create an energy that is more equal and more in harmony with the world that we live in today, to help free those who might be caught up in the system and not even know it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we were talking, Cindy was talking again about the 4 pillars of the system that we are in. One of those pillars is quite obviously the money system. That's one of the biggest ways that we are controlled. We have to pay our taxes, right? Otherwise they take our land away from us. They'll take everything away. Everything is all about taxes. It's always been that way too. It goes back to everything that's recorded in these times, whether it's going off to the king or going off to the church. It's just part of the system. And Sita says, I don't like that idea. I don't want to pay taxes.
Great.
And she said, how did this happen? I had one, and now I have none.
She's our most talkative one.
She is a big talker.
Hey, baby. Baby Sita. Baby Sita.
And she's got the sweetest eyes.
She's so sweet. She is the most sweetest thing, you guys.
And then another pillar is obviously the political system.
Yes.
So we have the money, we have the political system, where we're always split into left and right and different parties, et cetera, et cetera. And I just, are you guys finding it like, I just find like I'm not having the tolerance for any of it anymore. I just can't stand to even look at it, regardless of the side that's being taken. Because again, I always look at it like all the power brokers that we think we're seeing, they're really all pawns when you get down to it. But it's just the rhetoric. When you're awake, you can just see. You can just see when you're awake the obvious things. Like you can't trust the mass media.
Right.
That's just obvious.
I think I should put her inside. She's going to take the show over.
Okay.
Okay.
So, you obviously can't trust the mass media, but as we've said and we brought up many times, but still there are people that trust the mass media version when we talk about the other leg, which is the religious leg. When you look to the Abrahamic tradition, which controls the minds of about 60% to 2/3 of the population, looking at things through an Abrahamic lens, that's huge. That is huge. And still so many follow that and don't question it. And don't question things like, was there a Jesus? Did he die on the cross? Was he, blood sacrifice? And automatically believe that either Yahweh or Allah is the creator. And they don't even look into the history of that because it's been so indoctrinated. And we talked about how you can see that you have been in a box. Okay, so you step out of the mass media box, and then maybe sometime later you start to step out of the left-right paradigm box, but still you're trapped waiting for the second coming of Jesus, who we know as Yeshua, who really was an amazing teacher and being who came here, to basically teach about ascension and to teach how to ascend, and also to help restore balance to this world in the darkest part of the Kali Yuga. And, it wasn't even a given that he was divine. I mean, these are things that they debated at the Council in Nicaea and the councils that came after. Is he God? Is he man? Is he God-man? What was his purpose? Is it really all about just faith? And faith in what? Faith in a blood sacrifice? Or do you have to have works? All these things were debated. And there was more lines of thinking than just the Gnostic line of thinking and what became known as the fundamentalist or orthodox point. So there was many different lines of thinking and many different forms of Christianity. Ultimately, if we're truly following the Creator, it's ultimately just simply about love. And there's no need for dogma, because dogma divides, and dogma is just simply a human construct, as Sita is doing her talking. And, one thing that I find is that these times, they're going to bring out the contrasts in all of us. It's going to be challenging, to say the least, and to stay, to stay centered, and to stay in a place of love and compassion. Now, when we're talking about love and compassion, we obviously should have compassion for all those people that are suffering through war and crisis today. And at the same time, the system has done this endlessly. Sita?
Sita, come on. Come here. It has. It's done this endlessly. Can you put her in, sweetie, maybe? When it comes to our understanding about why did we come here, why are we here? What am I doing? And I always talk about, well, you need to look at why you descended. And I thought that Rainbow Warrior video was so beautiful, because I know there's going to be a lot of people who are like, hey, I really like this idea, and quite possibly this is the reason you came here. So this is your time to do what you came here to do, and help those get out of the system if they so choose, or if they want another way to live. Some people simply want another life, but all they have is the system, those 4 pillars: the religious, the medical, and the monetary.
We didn't really go into the medical yet.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's the 4th.
Okay, yeah. I'll let Mike go into the 4th because he does it so well.
Yeah, as we were saying, the 4th pillar then would be the medical system, which you cannot question because they don't allow you to question. This is where they'll call it medical misinformation.
Yep.
And it's such a major component of the system that they will definitely take videos down if you say something like, well, instead of going and getting a prescription for something here, did you ever think about something else? They do definitely censor things like that, because that is one of the main ways that they keep people under control, is through the medical system, and also have a hold of lifespans. And again, the vibration, which is so key. It's so key. If we're able to continually rise up by staying clear and level and not taking in things that are going to lower our frequency. Just look at some of the side effects on these things. They have to tell you the side effects. Rama sees. They have to tell you these side effects, and they do. And so, might cure acne, might cause cancer. It's right out there. Well, at least, when the cancer kills you, you won't have any acne.
Yep.
But this is exactly the system that we're in. So, it's interesting to see, because we've seen so many comments where people say, well, I like your news, but I don't like when you start making me uncomfortable in whatever particular box you're set in. And it seems like the one that's most rigid really is the religious box. That's the one that I think ultimately is the one that is harder for people to get past. And so, with Cindy and I, we're not going by what we've read so much. It's what we've experienced. With Cindy, it's not anything about what she's read. It's totally about what she's experienced completely. And with myself, while I am well read on most of the major religious traditions out there and philosophical systems and all the hidden arts and stuff, again, it's about that knowing. And when people go into that next level, when you are ascending, when your light body is active, when your pineal gland is active, then you can see. And when you can really see, and when you can really experience for yourself, and this is what Gnosis is about, it's a direct knowing through experience, not blind faith, believing that whatever is written by somebody else's experience, whether or not they actually had the experience in the first place, you're just trusting in somebody else's secondhand information. So, yeah, we're going to an age where it's not going to be about secondhand information. It's going to be what you are experiencing yourself. And that's going to cause all these constructs and systems to collapse.
Right. And, we came here not to make people feel uncomfortable, but do question the system in which you are locked in. Ask the reasons. Why is everything the way it is? Why is everything set up the way it is? And this is how we start to free our minds. And, our bodies go wherever our mind goes, the body goes. So if we free our minds, then we start to get that sense of physically wanting to be free and out of the system, and maybe even creating our own surroundings where we can be free.
Absolutely. And, the type of things that will be available are, again, what they've talked about as yogic superpowers. And these superpowers are just simply things that are superpowers in a dark age, because you can't even conceive that these things are real, like telepathy, telekinesis, many other things, knowing your past lives. But they will be in the ages to come. You will know your past lives. You'll be able to see and access points in your past lives. And there's quite a few that I'm aware of and Cindy's aware of, and we have direct knowledge of. I actually know my birth date and death date of my last life, as well as the major events in it. And that really changes you when you start to know these things, when you start to recall these things. And it can be enlightening. It can also be very kind of traumatic at times to go through and to understand things. There was one lady that I used to work on when I was working on people in person. No reason, the doctors had no reason for terrible edema she would get in her feet and ankles and lower legs. No reason at all medically they could see for it. But she went to a hypnotherapist, had a past life regression done, and she found out that there was a flood. She went down in the basement and she stepped into water and was electrocuted. And this was a trauma that was still haunting her in this life. And I've had visions too, which now with Cindy's help, I could see clearly what these visions were. And, they were in many cases ending points of other lives that were traumatic. Again, fighting the system. Mm-hmm. So this explains when back in 2017, about 2 weeks after I started the channel, the group that starts with an I, ends with an I, the illuminated ones, reached out to me and said they've been watching me for years. And, my thought was, how were they watching me for years? Because, I'm nobody of any particular importance here and wasn't well known, hadn't had, a channel out with millions of views. Well, it's because they know who we are. They know who we are from past lives. They know what lives we've lived. They know when we have been a person of interest. If we're talking about these lists that these groups have, they have a list with people that they know who they were in past lives, and the fact that they're probably going to be an issue in this life, as far as an issue in that they will be a pain in the butt to the powers that be, because they were a pain in the butt in past lives trying to break down the system.
Yes, and now is a really kind of an exciting time because we're getting all of this information. We are being flooded with light, flooded with information to understand more about ourselves. So it's a really good time to explore and not allow those four pillars to get in our way from even the free thinking of the possibilities that we might have.
Absolutely. And each person, it's a unique experience. And some of these pillars are more deeply ingrained in us than others. And, again, we might have, very, very fond memories, as I do, of going to church on Christmas and celebrating Christmases. And yes, the spirit of Christmas should always be in our hearts. And that should be, basically the way we live all the time. Not necessarily the material things, but just that joy. That joy could be there all the time. And Sita just says, one more bone, just one more bone. But they have a bunch of big bones.
Yeah. So, allow yourself to explore the possibilities of who you are. Don't be afraid to do that. It's an exciting time to be alive and not limit ourselves.
Yes. And be yourself too. Absolutely be yourself. Don't change anything major about yourself for anyone.
Yes.
If there's things that you got to change because they don't feel good, or that they are holding you back from being the best version of you, that's one thing. But if it's the world or any individual that's, saying, hey, I'd like you better if you wouldn't do this or wouldn't do that, well, then maybe they're not supposed to be in your life in the first place. Or maybe they'll get past it, and maybe they'll grow, and maybe they'll accept you for who you are. But the main thing is to be yourself, because there's only one you.
Yes, be yourself, because everybody else is taken anyway.
Exactly. So I hope this was informative in any way to you guys. And, it's a big time right now of processing and massive changes, massive growth. Things could be uncomfortable at times, and we're all being faced with working through all these things that have been so deeply entrenched in our minds, in our souls, and literally in our body. In Qigong and in acupuncture, there's what's known as Lao channels, and these Lao channels are channels that develop off the main meridians in the body, the main energy pathways in the body, where we store emotions and energies that we're just not ready to process. And that can cause a big problem down the line if we're not able to process these things and let them go, because they no longer serve us. But at times there's things we just can't face. We're not ready to face. And so over time, it could cause disease and then disease. And in these times, especially where we're not just purging our own traumas, our own things that we're working with, we're clearing out ancestral lineage, we're clearing out ancestral DNA. So, that makes it even tougher.
It does, but it's a really important. I think the most important thing we can do in this lifetime is heal our family lineage, and that means just heal yourself. Focus on you, and everyone behind you and everyone ahead of you will be healed as well.
Absolutely. So where we're going is a place where we no longer have to take things as hearsay. We don't have to go on somebody else's opinion, somebody else's experiences. This is going to be an age coming up where it's all about what you experience. What do you come to know, as in with a G, as in Gnosis. And what Sita knows is she wants that bone back.
Yes, even though she has another one just like it, that Rama's tastes better.
Always. See, the other one's just sitting right there. But nope, she wants that one. She just knows it. As always, guys, thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.